All right, everyone. I talk to y'all about community all the time, and it's time I start practicing what I preach. But before I get to that, I'm going to give you four shout outs. Three I am sub to, and one I am not. So let's start with the one I'm not sub to, Middle Nation. Shahid King Bolson. I think he lives in Turkey. The reason he talks with excellent American English is because he was born and raised here. This is one of those figures that I've been watching a lot of his videos lately. I watch different types of things, whether I agree or disagree. Not putting that out there as a disclaimer. I'm just letting you know that I listen to different types of voices, okay? So I've been watching his videos lately. He's saying a lot of things that even if whether you agree or disagree are true. This is a shout out, but this is more of a cautionary one where I tell you to go watch his channel and see what you feel about his views. I can't discount too much of what he's saying. Me personally, I'm not going to convert to Islam. There are even controversies about his background, but I ask you to go watch and listen to his philosophies with an open mind. You can agree with somebody without them having the same belief as you do. I don't feel that what he's saying is controversial. It's common sense if you're following trends. So go watch Middle Nation if you can. Sub if you like or not sub, but I think that's a good channel worth looking into. Let's do the ladies first with Hook It Up Homestead. I feel extremely blessed by the videos she puts out because I feel like with her growing subs, congratulations, she's over the 100 mark now. Barely, but she's there. And we can give her a hearty congratulations. My hat's off to her. The practical and budget ways in which she grows food is how we're going to go into the future. I would like in 2026 as something to add to my list of things to do is to find more people on YouTube like her and start forming communities. Even myself being in the state of Washington, it's nice to know someone in Texas has knowledge that I can use to grow, particularly with the high rainfall here and the diversity of crops. Naturally, I can't grow avocados and bananas, unfortunately, because Washington doesn't have that climate. But it's a lesson from her in eating in season and doing it in a sustainable and budget friendly way. At the rate we're all going, channels like hers will continue to grow because we have no choice. If you think you have a choice, that's why I told you to go watch Shahid King Bolson's channel. Your choices are limited and they will continue to get limited. And to add to your choices in the future, we're going to need people like Hook It Up Homestead. I encourage you to go sub, learn the cheap ways you can start growing your own food, because food growth is going to be the new norm in my house as it was a couple of years ago in 2026. I'm not interested in having to chop an arm off or a leg off or give an organ to keep paying for produce. That's just me. It's getting too expensive for no reason. This next one, Brandon of Palm Beach. The reason I keep bringing Brandon up is because now he's branched out to cooking from home. And because he's worked as a cook, though I argue some of his cooking is chef quality. Brandon is now showing you how to make budget-friendly meals that stretch your family's pocket so that you can eat restaurant quality on a budget without feeling like you're giving up anything. Brandon is significant in that restaurants are increasingly charging crazy fees and will not tell you what those fees are and don't advertise that that fee is there till after you've paid for the meal. Then you're having to ask about why you're paying these convenience fees. And why my sympathy goes out to people who work in the hospitality industry, including Brandon. You can't necessarily expect cash strapped people to foot the bill for you when they themselves are in dire straits. And people say, well, why are they eating out? Everybody can have a treat. You still got to live your life. In the future, some of those treats are going to have to come from your own hands, and you're going to have to make restaurant quality at a budget price without sacrificing flavor and without feeling like you're sacrificing anything. And the good thing is you can go to your own refrigerator and grab it. That's what Brandon's here for. Last and certainly not least is the Solomon Project, where it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep that counts. He is not giving you financial advice, okay? He's literally talking about the markets. Why do you want to monitor the markets? It's more of a discussion with the Solomon Project. He can lead you in the right direction. Remember, he's not giving financial advice. Why would a channel like his be so important right now? See, Great Britain has just moved to a digital ID, and you know the United States has a thing about copying what Great Britain does. Your funds and all the things you want to do for your stuff is about to become a whole lot more regimented. And keeping up with markets, keeping up with shipments and things like that is real important, and keeping up with your stocks and all those things, especially in this time, is important. Also, him being a truck driver, he has insights into that world as well, and he can probably tell you how that works and how things move. So Solomon is like our money and trade, like jack of all trades, if that makes sense, like a jack of all trades 2.0. I encourage you all to sub to him because the money matters. Now, back to our regularly scheduled program. Made a few shout outs, so now we're going to get to it. I want you all to come and join me in the state of Washington, where I'm going to read an article and we're going to get into an example of what I mean by community. So without further ado, let's get into this article. The Great American Drug Store Shakeout has claimed another victim, as yet another regional favorite vanishes from the high street. After 135 years in business, one of Washington's most iconic pharmacy chains has shut its doors for good, closing its final 3 locations last weekend after weeks of inventory blowouts. The collapse follows a wave of struggles across the sector, with giants such as Rite Aid filing for bankruptcy and Walgreens and CVS also shuttering hundreds of stores as customer habits shift and financial pressures mount. The latest casualty is Bartells Drugs, a Seattle-based chain once beloved for its local identity and community focus. Founded in 1890, it was acquired by Rite Aid in 2020 when it had 67 stores. But years of turmoil at both companies saw locations gradually rebranded or shuttered before the final closure in Kirkland, Mill Creek, and Gig Harbor. Molly Laventer, 48, describes the closings as the end of an era to the Seattle Times. As Laventer stood outside the Bartells in Gig Harbor, its windows plastered with yellow banners, she said, "I grew up with Bartells. This is like watching my childhood go away." Bartells Drugs was well known in the Puget Sound region for its local focus, customer service, and community involvement. It had a strong local identity and often carried products from local vendors and supported local events. The store's headquarters was in Seattle, Washington, where it was established in 1890 by George H. Bartells Sr. Bartells Drugs was considered the oldest family-owned drugstore chain in the U.S. The chain's financial woes came slowly and then all at once. In July, 2 months after Rite Aid filed its second bankruptcy, CVS said it would take 20 of the remaining 34 Bartells stores. CVS spent the summer rebranding the chosen locations. The 14 stores left over saw their pharmacies shuttered and prescriptions sent to nearby CVS locations. Signs outside started coming down and liquidation teams arrived to sell the remaining inventory. The iconic candy, wine, and gifts that once lined the drugstore shelves had disappeared as bargain hunters moved down the aisles in search of final deals. We tried to stay local and quirky, recalled John Lewis, 56, Bartells' former regional manager and food and beverage buyer who stopped by the Mill Creek store Friday to visit a former co-worker. For Bartells employees and shoppers, the closures were hardly surprising. After Rite Aid acquired the chain years ago, it became clear that things were going downhill. Rite Aid hoped the acquisition would help its own financial struggles, and the larger drugstore brand promised to maintain Bartells' unique business model. However, the pandemic turned Rite Aid's promise into a full-blown disaster, and both brands got to a point of no return. Rite Aid quickly became one of the nation's most popular pharmaceutical chains after opening its first store in Pennsylvania in 1962. At its peak in 2008, the chain was operating over 5,000 locations, making it the third largest pharmacy in the U.S. The chain had been struggling for quite some time before it was forced to file for bankruptcy in 2023. By that time, the chain was operating 2,100 stores and planning to close hundreds after receiving $3.45 billion in new financing to create a restructuring plan. The plan was initially successful after slashing $2 billion in debt and securing $2.5 billion in exit financing. However, its restructuring efforts slowly crumbled, and by April this year, Rite Aid was plotting its second bankruptcy. Rite Aid has not been the only major pharmacy to struggle. Even CVS has been forced to shut locations across the country. Early this year, the drugstore, which had over 9,000 locations across the U.S., confirmed that 270 stores would shutter this year. The closures, which the company initially announced in October last year, have been underway in several states, with Alabama, New York, Maryland, and Missouri seeing the largest number of closures. To give you all a real-life perspective, this store first opened in 1890. I knew it was family owned because a friend of mine who's got married and went to Georgia would take me to Bartells, and she, growing up in Washington most of her life, would explain to me how this store produced local. Most of the time when I visited Bartells in Seattle, because we didn't have one here on the Kitsap Peninsula, I would buy candies made by local artists. If I'm not mistaken, that's how I found Fran's Chocolates, which is one of the best chocolatiers in the state of Washington. If you can ship you some Fran's, I advise it. It's spendy, but it's worth it. So is Amy's Decadent Chocolates, which I sent some truffles to Mr. Burns from the Blackberry Festival made by Amy's Decadent Chocolates. I need to buy from them more often as I once did. I don't think I've been in Amy's for like 7+ years until that Blackberry Festival. The point is that brands such as hers can be found because I was doing community on purpose before I started back making YouTube videos. Really before I started making YouTube videos at all. And Bartells was the start of that. Unlike any drugstore I'd ever gone in, Bartells went out of its way to intentionally sell and push Washington State or Puget Sound, or I would say Pacific Northwest products. So me living here, I wanted to know what it was like to tangibly go have those, bring them, have them as snacks and things like that. So it's sad that the chain drugstore that got me started on community, after years of rumors here that we could be losing it, it's finally gone. To give you context, when it says this store opened in 1890, My great grandfather who served in World War I was born 6, 7 years later. This store served full generations, and now it's going away. I didn't even remember or recall. I can only recall seeing a Bartell Drugs um, commercial in Alabama once growing up, not knowing it was a Seattle chain till I moved to the state of Washington. Things you are accustomed to are going away. And trust me, Bartels could be expensive on stuff, particularly local stuff, obviously. Why? The lesson in this is while some communities go away and some staples go away, others can rise in its place. I'm saddened by this because I've shopped there when I would go to Seattle and I know it's a wonderful chain. But this is sad for me is because Bartels got me on the roll in my early 30s, late 20s, early 30s in caring about community and shopping local. So to see it go, because that's what's the precursor to me eventually going to farmers markets as often as I could in a season. So to see this go away and know that it's going to hurt some small business brands in this greater Puget Sound area that benefited from it hurts. It hurts and it's painful. But what it does do is it forces me to go look at community in a different light. All right. Thank y'all for watching. Thank you for keeping up with me with community. I'm still going to continue to make soap. I'm still pushing forward to getting Sugar and Pluto off the ground. Thank you all so much. Unfortunately, Bartells won't be around for me to sell my soap in, so have to get a little more local. Maybe Aldridge's up in Port Orchard. All right. So, y'all be safe, take care, and make community intentional, with or without big change.